Hey guys, welcome to the second installment to solving inequations. Okay, so last lesson we looked at things like this. X plus 3 is less than 5. Okay, so can you remember how to solve that? So we took the 3 across like we did any other equation, and we got x is less than 2. And that was our solution. We then put that on a little number line. So where are we going with this lesson? Well, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to rearrange that to make it 3 minus x is less than 5. Okay, and so what differences we might come across. So we were going to solve this pretty much the same way. Okay, I've got the plus 3 here, so I'm going to take it away to the left-hand side. I now get minus x is less than 2. Now I need to get rid of this minus sign because at the moment I want to have x is less than or x is greater than, that kind of thing. So I've actually got a 1 there. It's a negative 1x. So what's the opposite of times negative 1? Well, hopefully you remember that's divided by negative 1. And I'm going to have x is less than 2 divided by negative 1 is just negative 2, and that's my solution. So you might think, well, how is it any different realistically to what we just did? We're just dealing with a negative. Well, the difference is that's actually wrong. Okay, why have I shown that to you? Well, I want to show you why this happens. Okay, so that's what we had. Now, I'm going to make things a little bit easier for ourselves to start off with. I'm going to only deal with a positive x. That might make things a bit easier. So I'm going to take the negative x and I'm going to put him on to that right-hand side by plussing him. I've now got 3 is less than 5 plus x. I'm now going to take the plus 5 across. I'm going to minus it. 3 minus 5 is negative 2 is less than x. I'm just going to rewrite that so that I have the x in the coming first. So notice it's pointing towards the negative 2. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to write that as my solution. Now let's have a look from what we did that was wrong the first time. Can you see the difference? The first time we did it, we got x was less than minus 2. But now I've done this properly, and I notice that x is actually greater than minus 2. So what gives? Okay, there's a little rule that we're going to learn that's going to help us. Whenever you multiply, and if you haven't written this down, folks, really good idea to write this down. If you multiply or divide by a negative, okay, we must flip the inequality sign. So this is obviously when you're solving inequations. Okay, obviously with an equal sign it's not going to make a difference, but this is for inequations. Okay, so that means that whenever you are multiplying or dividing by a negative, we must flip the inequality sign. So let's just go back to that original question. You'll notice in that original question that I had, and then I was doing it, that we were dividing by that negative 1, which means that this less than sign needs to be flipped to make a greater than sign, and now look, they're now the same. So the rule is that if you times or divide an inequality by a negative number, you must flip. It doesn't matter if you're plussing or minusing, that's all cool. It's whether you are timesing or dividing. So here's a very similar question. So I'm going to get rid of that 3. I'm going to take him to the right-hand side. I've now got negative 1x is greater than 1. Like that last question, okay, we said we wanted to get rid of the negative 1. It's currently negative 1 times x, so we're going to divide by negative 1. Now, noticing too that I've just divided by a negative number. So we need to flip this greater than sign to be a less than sign. 1 divided by negative 1, well, that's just negative 1. We've now got our solution, which I can put on my number line if they ask us to, obviously. In this case, we weren't, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to put on a number line, and it's less than negative 1. It's a hollow dot, and I go from there. So basically, this is exactly what we were doing that previous lesson, except if we times or divide by a negative, we must flip that sign. So let's work on this question now. You might want to pause it and have a crack at it and see how you get on. Okay, first step. Plus 5, I'm going to take it to the right-hand side. Plus becomes minus. Negative 2x is greater than or equal to 2. That's my first step like we would normally do. Now I've got negative 2 times x. I'm going to take him to the left, so the right hand side. Opposite of times is divide. I'm going to divide it by negative 2. Now noticing again, alarm bells, I'm dividing by a negative number. Therefore, I'm going to just flip my inequality signs and say x is less than or equal to, or 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1, and I've got my answer. Once again, I can put that on a number line as we've done previously. This time, however, it's less than or equal to, so I'm going to color him in, and I'm going to point it to the left-hand side. I hope that's starting to make a bit of sense to you. Again, I want you to pause this one and see how you get on. Okay, so I've got a 5, a minus 3, and a 2. So the 2 is the first one we want to get rid of. We do that by doing the opposite of divide by 2, which is times by 2. 5 minus 3x is less than negative 10. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of the 5. Plus 5 becomes minus 5. Minus 3x is less than negative 15. Now I just need to get rid of the last step, which is the minus 3. So opposite of times minus 3 is divide by minus 3. However, I've just divided by a negative number, so I must flip that inequality sign. Negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5. So I've got my solution of x is greater than 5. So once again, I'm going to put that on my number line. Remember, you don't have to do that, the number line, if it's asking you. It's a hollow dot, and it's going to the right-hand side because it's all the values that are greater than 5. And the last question, which is obviously the most difficult to start with. Okay, so what could we do? Well, again, you can imagine that was an equal sign. I'm going to take the 5x to the left-hand side. I'm going to take the plus 1 to the right-hand side, making sure if it changes sides, it changes signs. 2x take away 5x is negative 3x. 13 take away 1 is 12. Now noticing I'm only plussing and minusing there, so nothing really changes. It's only if I'm timesing or dividing by a negative. I want to get the minus 3 and put him to the right-hand side. Okay, so I'm going to divide by the negative 3. Remember, the opposite of times minus 3 is divide by minus 3, but lo and behold, I'm dividing by a negative number, so I'm going to flip my inequality sign. 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. I've got my solution. Once again, if they want to be put a number line, I'm just going to whack it on there just as we have done previously. It's going to be a colored in dot at 4 because it's greater than, so less than or equal to, and it's going to point to the left hand side. Okay, so I really hope you're starting to get the idea of this. Again, it's if you times or divide by a negative number, we flip the inequality sign. Okay, really important because if you don't, then obviously it's going to be wrong. So you got to be really careful with this one, folks. So again, times to divide by negative, we flip. I hope this made a bit of sense. If you have any issues, please drop me an email or or see me at class time. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome day.